All right, we've spoken a little bit before about the brewing war between MAGA suck-ups, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Both are Republican members of the House of Representatives. Both were reelected in 2022. Marjorie Taylor Greene by an easy margin, Lauren Boebert by the slimmest of margins. And increasingly, they are at odds with each other. We started seeing this a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to you about it. And now they are increasingly going after each other in an ugly way, which I think we should support. Now, there are people online talking about, catfight and all this sort of stuff. That is really not interesting to me. The fact that they are both women, to me, is not part of why this is interesting. If Madison Cawthorn were still in Congress and he was the one at odds with Boebert or Greene, we would be just as interested. The interesting part is these cartoonish, vapid, ignorant, do-nothing MAGA people arguing with each other is interesting because all they really have is their allegiance to MAGA. Listen, if it weren't for Trump and if it weren't for MAGA as something that they could say we support, they never would have been elected in the first place. And so it's interesting as we see Trump's 2024 campaign get off to a shaky start, to say the least, and we see questions as to whether or not MAGA will eventually acquiesce and get Kevin McCarthy elected Speaker of the House. It's particularly interesting to see MAGA subdivide. And I'm going to go to a video yesterday. We looked at some of this interview earlier. This is the interview during which Lauren Boebert on Fox News told Bret Baier, just like with George Washington, if we decide Jim Jordan needs to be the speaker, then he will be the speaker. She was presented with some of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene said about her. She then goes after Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's getting very ugly, and MAGA seems to be subdividing. Let's take a look.
Two sound bites, Marjorie Taylor Greene and then Dan Crenshaw. Take a listen.
Please.
Lauren Boebert, under $2 million from Kevin McCarthy to get elected. Many more people have taken Kevin McCarthy's money to get elected, and then there's a few of them that don't want to support him as Speaker.
Some of the reasons that these people have for not voting for McCarthy are unbelievably petty. Unbelievably petty. This is about showmanship. This is about notoriety. It has nothing to do with the conservative.
By the way, the irony of Dan Crenshaw saying others are being petty is not lost on me, but I don't want to get derailed because this is more about Lauren Boebert's response, which we're going to see here in a moment.
Agenda.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, saying that, you just won a very close election in Colorado and that went to a recount. And she's saying that Kevin McCarthy helped you get across the finish line and that you're just trying to make a point or make a splash. How do you respond to that?
Well, there are laws in this building that prevent me from going too far into detail, but I can say that I did not receive any help in that election, and that was a very big deal. We pay dues as members to the NRCC, and they were nowhere to be found. And then as far as our requests being petty, I don't think a secure border is petty. I don't think a term limits bill being brought to the floor, not demanded to pass, but brought to the floor so we actually have an option to vote on that is petty.
But Congresswoman, you're not saying that your other colleagues, you're not saying your other colleagues don't want a secure border or don't want a balanced budget, right? You're not saying that about your Republican colleagues.
We haven't seen that demonstrated from leadership. We asked for the RSC, the Republican Study Committee's budget be...
All right, you get the point. Lauren Boebert saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is straight up lying, just making it up whole cloth, the support that she received. What is the future of this intra-MAGA spat or fight? I don't have the answer. But one of the things that I expect to happen is as if Trump and MAGA continue to look weaker and weaker, and part of how we know this is how are Trump's primary polls looking, including against people like Ron DeSantis, who haven't even declared that they're running for anything. If Trump looks injured irreparably, I think maybe is the term we would apply to it, I think you will see more MAGA infighting because they will realize the Trump train, the MAGA train on which we even came to power, is no longer going to be the buoy that keeps us afloat. If the allegiance to MAGA is no longer the buoy that keeps us afloat, what else do we need to or can we do to separate and distinguish ourselves from the other people who came to power on the same nothing that we came to power, which was Trump was popular enough at the time that by endorsing us and us saying we love Trump, we were able to win. If Trump surges in the polls and reestablishes himself as the clear guy who's on his path to win the 2024 Republican nomination, I believe you will see less of this infighting. It is a reflection of the shakiness and the crumbling nature of the Trump MAGA movement at this point in time.